Okay. So one of the issues to consider is whether the prep's good enough, and it sort of looks sort of like slightly on the margin at the moment, but let's see how we go. And Lynn, if you can keep a close eye on the image to make sure it's properly orientated. I can't tell at the moment because the scope is completely straight, but
needs to be rotated because the patient is obviously not on their front.
Yeah,
that's right.
He's
now
on his left side. I put it on the right to have the correct image.
perfect. Yeah, that's right.
So if you're going to be using, you may have to use air, Julie, because there's quite a bit of residue there, but let's see how we go. It's going to be a bit tricky with this prep, but
this is suction. So indeed, we have a difficult with visualizing the lumen because of the poor prep now.
well, I'm quite happy if you want to go back to CO2, Julie, because
yeah, okay.
As I mean, what I would probably be doing in this situation is have my foot on the pedal and suck at the same time, and that has that's a way of cleaning the bowel, but that's a little bit tricky to maintain that. You might be better off with the.
Yeah.
So you just stop there for a moment. You're making good progress here, and in this situation, Julie, I would just be pushing through, not worrying about the loop, because I would expect the patient to be comfortable, and I'm not meeting much resistance. And you'll shortly be going up the descending colon. So I like what I'm seeing. You know, you're making steady progress. You're not going too fast. Do you know what sort of loop you've got there? You have got a loop now. Do you know what sort of loop it is?
I think alpha. No?
Yeah. We think it's an alpha. Yeah. Do you know where the tip of the scope is? Where do you know where you are?
No, actually no.
Sorry, I didn't hear that. What was that?
No, I think where should I be? Transversie heb ik nog niet ingepast.
You're just approaching the spine flexure.
Yeah. But that's the problem. I mean, most of my scope is already in it. So
You've already your scope. Your problem is what did you say?
That is, I don't have many scope left.
You don't have much scope left. Okay, so do you want to try and straighten it out then?
Yeah.
Okay, so just stop for a moment, Julie. You've done really well.
Yeah.
So what you've got a loop in the scope. You're running out of scope. I don't know if it's a short scope or not, but how are you going to straighten the scope? What's you going to do?
Maybe just pull back and what's that clockwise on?
It's going to be clockwise talk. Don't pull back. I don't want you to do anything. I want you just to tell me what you're going to do. So a good principle here when you are resolving a loop is to have a plan in your head of what you're going to do before you start. All right. If you want to resolve it in one go, then you need to have a plan. So what's your plan? How are you going to do this?
Pull back and clockwise.
Okay. So the resolving the loop involves doing two things, doesn't it? One is pulling the scope out, and secondly is applying torque, in this occasion clockwise torque. So the question is, what do you do when and how much do you do of each of those two things. Now, looking at it at the moment, are you pulling back at the moment?
Yeah.
I did ask you to stay where you were. I don't want you to pull back. If you try and reduce that loop now, you'll fall out. All right. So go back to where you were.
Yeah.
So I wanted to have a conversation with you, Julie, about what you're going to do before you do it. I don't want you to be doing it while we're having the conversation. I want to plan it, because otherwise you'll just fall out. Yes. So this is a really, really important message, that if you know you're going to have to put on a lot of anti-clockwise talk or a lot of clockwise talk, get yourself set up beforehand. And I got Lynn, do you see that? I got Lynn to put your arm under the scope there, and that enables you to apply much more clockwise talk. All right. So just play it on until I think it starts falling out at this stage again, doesn't it? So why do you think it's? Oh no, it did come straight. Okay, so and we got a straight scope, and then we went back in again, and it just formed again, didn't it, David? Whoa, yeah, stop there. Okay, so what's going on there? Do you think, Julie? Well, I think that sigmoid loop is just forming again. I mean, it's bulging right out into the abdomen, isn't it? Up to the top of the abdomen. And it's accentuating, it's making the angle where around the splenic flexure more difficult. And all the force of your insertion is going into that big loop, isn't it? And it's going nowhere. So that's a tricky situation, because we're not very good at compressing the sigmoid loop. And at first I thought that loop was coming mainly from the descending colon, which is why I asked Lynn to give compression there. But with the best will in the world, that's always going to be a difficult loop to stop with compression. So if we just wind the clock forward. So what I was trying to do there to stop that forming again was to get you to apply some clockwise talk on withdrawal, and I couldn't see whether you were or not. And what people tend to do, they just looking at your hand there. So can we just see what happens to Julie's hand when she advances, David? Just watch the right hand. Just advance. So that time it worked. If you go back to earlier when it didn't work, David, just go back to. So we've got we've straightened that loop out. We straighten it out.